All right, guys, welcome to the first ever presidential debate. We're going to be tuning in live. This is a live stream. We're going to watch the first debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. This should be a shit show. Let me know how the audio sounds. Let me know how my audio sounds. It should be okay. If not, I might have to adjust a few things here. So I got this C-SPAN feed online right now, but it looks like it might be like the audio is down or something. I don't know what's going on. Let me double check here. Make sure that the audio is okay on the C-SPAN feed. If you guys have another feed, let me know. Give me a link because this might be down actually. Let me double check. Here's one from The Guardian, so this might actually work better. Let's double check. Let me know how the audio sounds. You sound like a legend. Thank you, Ashton. You're welcome. Audio is great. Thank you, Dewey. All right, so this is this is another live feed, but I don't know if it's actually live. We'll see. Okay, yeah, here we go. There's George. There's George. There he is. All right, let's see how the audio sounds. Should be okay. If not, let me know. It's working now. Audio is good. Okay, good. I hear a smattering, so we might be able to hear the audio okay. All right, so also I'm trying something. We did this with the presidential elections in 2016. If you go to madcastmedia.com, there is a link on there. On the top of the page, you click on the presidential debate, and you can vote on who you think is going to win this debate, and that updates in real time. You can see those numbers in real time. Looks like right now Biden is edging out Trump 62-38 on who's winning the debate, which is amazing considering Biden hasn't answered any questions. And then we have Trump losing 44-56 on who you think will win the election. Okay, so that one's a little bit more predictable, I guess. But based on 0 questions, looks like you guys think it's a clean sweep for Biden. So we'll see. I'm going to also answer some questions. You know what? I'm going to do some real-time fact checking as well. Let me pull up this audio. Let me know. Can you guys hear the music? There should be some music playing, and let me pull up some audio here. Can you guys hear, is he saying anything right now? If you guys can't hear anything, let me know. We should be okay. Vector says, I'm 35 years old now. I can't believe the first came upon at Maddox when I was 14 years old. Damn, dude, blast from the past. Well, welcome back, Vector. Severe Magnus says, I'm suddenly in an elevator. Okay, good. Then you can hear the music. Good. Is the audio levels okay? Let me know. You can't hear the debate, says Luis. Okay, let me double check here. There might be another... Let me go back to C-SPAN and double check here. Make sure the audio is okay. Yeah, C-SPAN's audio is messed up. We'll just watch this from either The Guardian or CNA. Let's check CNA. Yeah, should be okay. I'm gonna double check and make sure that the audio is okay. We'll just let's check here with either the Telegraph or Global News. Here, we'll go to Global News. We'll see if the audio is okay here. Do you guys hear any audio at all? If you don't, then this might be hosed. Okay. So I don't see anyone talking right now, so we'll see. Let me know how the audio sounds. Provost says, is the old X-Mission page still up? You bet your ass it is, dog. Time Lord says, $1,000 on Trump lying within 5 minutes of him talking. Anyone want to take him up on that?
Good evening from the Health Education campus of Case Western Reserve University.
Cool. Oops.
I'm Chris Wallace of Fox News, and I welcome you to the first of the 2020 presidential debates
audio sound okay?
between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. The commission has designed the format, 6 roughly 15-minute segments, with 2-minute answers from each candidate to the first question, then open discussion for the rest of each segment. Both campaigns have agreed to these rules. For the record, I decided the topics and the questions in each topic.
Cool.
I can assure you, none of the questions has been shared with the commission or the 2 candidates. This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland Clinic, which is serving as the health security advisor to the commission for all 4 debates. As a precaution, both campaigns have agreed the candidates will not shake hands at the beginning of tonight's debate.
That's weird.
The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, no boos or other interruptions, so we, and more importantly you, can focus on what the candidates have to say. No noise except right now, as we welcome the Republican nominee, President Trump, and the Democratic nominee, Vice President Biden.
Here we go. Why do you think they did the no handshake thing? Do you guys think that's a coronavirus thing, or just they don't like each other?
How you doing, man? How are you? I'm well.
Gentlemen, a lot of people have been waiting for this night, so let's get going. Our first subject is the Supreme Court. President Trump, you nominated Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend to succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the court. You say the Constitution is clear about your obligation and the Senate's to consider a nominee to the court. Vice President Biden, you say that this is an effort by the president and Republicans to jam through an appointment and what you call an abuse of power. My first question to both of you tonight: why are you right in the argument you make and your opponent wrong? And where do you think a Justice Barrett would take the court? President Trump, in this first segment, you go first, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chris. I will tell you very simply, we won the election. Elections have consequences. We have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have a phenomenal nominee, respected by all, top academic, good in every way, In fact, some of her biggest endorsers are very liberal people from Notre Dame and other places. So I think she's going to be fantastic. We have plenty of time, even if we did it after the election itself. I have a lot of time after the election, as you know. So I think that she will be outstanding. She's going to be as good as anybody that has served on that court. We really feel that. We have a professor at Notre Dame, highly respected by all, said she's the single greatest student he's ever had. He's been a professor for a long time at a great school. And we won the election, and therefore we have the right to choose her. And very few people knowingly would say otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats, they wouldn't even think about not doing it. If they had, the only difference is they'd try and do it faster. There's no way they would give it up. They had Merrick Garland, but the problem is they didn't have the election, so they were stopped. And probably that would happen in reverse also. Definitely would happen in reverse. So we won the election, and we have the right to do it, Chris.
President Trump, thank you. Same question to you, Vice President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this, and looking forward to this, Mr. President.
Thank you, Joe.
The American people have a right to have a say in who the Supreme Court nominee is. That's United States senators, and when they vote for the President of the United States. They're not going to get that chance now because we're in the middle of an election already. The election has already started. Tens of thousands of people have already voted. And so the thing that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is, because that's the only way the American people get to express their view is by who they elect as president and who they elect as vice president. Now, what's at stake here is the president's made it clear he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. He's been running on that, he ran on that, and he has been governing on that. He's in the Supreme Court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which will strip 20 million people from having insurance, health insurance now, if it goes into court. And the justice, and I have nothing, I'm not opposed to the justice. She seems like a very fine person. But she's written before she went on the bench, which is her right, that she thinks that the Affordable Care Act is not constitutional. The other thing that's on the court, and if it's struck down, what happens? Women's rights are fundamentally changed. Once again, a woman could be pay more money because she has a pre-existing condition of pregnancy.
All right, I have the real-time fact-checking up on the screen, right above the chat.
Gets. And that ended when we, in fact, passed the Affordable Care Act. And there's 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions, and they'll be taken away as well. those pre-existing conditions, the insurance companies are going to love this. And so it's just not appropriate to do this before this election. If he wins the
Thank you,
election
Lonnie.
and the Senate is Democrat or Republican, then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February. All right.
There aren't 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. As far as the say is concerned, the people already had their say. Okay, Justice Ginsburg said very powerfully, very strongly, at some point, 10 years ago or so, she said a president and the Senate is elected for a period of time, but a president's elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years. So we have the Senate, we have a president.
He's elected to the next
During
election.
that period of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for 3 years. I'm elected for 4 years. And the 100 million people, Joe, the 100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number. The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care that they're very
That's
happy
simply
with.
not true.
Well, you're certainly going to socialist. You're going to socialist medicine.
We're now into, gentlemen, we're now into open discussion.
Open discussion.
There we go.
Discussion. Yes, I agree.
It's already
Go ahead,
starting.
Vice President.
Number one, he knows that what I proposed. What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won were saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still.
Notice
They
the fact
can.
check.
They do. They will under my proposal.
Not what you've said,
But
and it's not what
that
your
is-
party has said.
that is simply
Your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your
That
party
is
wants to
simple.
go socialist
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist
Right
healthcare.
now, I am
and
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
Wow.
I am the Democratic Party right now.
What a
The
shit show.
platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of. Now, here's the deal. The deal is that it's going to wipe out pre-existing conditions. And by the way, the 200,000 people that have died on his watch, how many of those have survived? Well, there's 7 million people that contracted COVID. What does it mean for them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act? And
Joe, you've had
pre-existing conditions?
308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military. So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And if you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't
the
be
deal.
200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
All right, gentlemen,
Europe, which was heavily
Mr. President,
infected. You would have
Mr.
been much
President,
later, Joe.
Mr. President,
Much later.
Mr.
You're
President,
talking about 2 million
This
people.
is already-
President, as the moderator, we are going to talk about COVID in the next segment, but go ahead.
Let me
This is already terrible. Neither one of us is letting either one talk.
As opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the court. So that's also at stake right now. And so the election is already
You don't know it's on the
begun.
ballot.
I-
Why is it on the ballot?
Because
Why is
you
it on the
said
ballot? It's not
you're-
on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the
I
court.
don't think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening there.
Donald, would you
And you
just be
don't
quiet
know
for a
her
minute?
my
on
God.
Roe v. Wade. You
I
don't
don't
know her
know.
view.
Well, all right, let's talk. We got a lot to unpack here, gentlemen. We got a lot of time. So, on health care, and then we'll come back to Roe v. Wade.
All right.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn
That's right.
Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last...
Because they want to give good health care.
If I may ask my question, sir.
Good health care.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes,
to
I have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well, I'll
I
give
got
you an
rid of the
opportunity.
individual
When I finish,
mandate.
I'm going to give you an
Excuse
opportunity.
me. I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That is
big
not a
chunk of
comprehensive
Obamacare. That
plan.
is absolutely a big thing. That was the
I
worst
didn't
part of
ask it,
Obamacare.
sir.
Chris,
You're
that was the
debating him,
worst
not
part of
me.
Obamacare.
Let me ask my
Well,
question.
I'll ask Joe.
The
The
no,
individual mandate was the most
Mr.
unpopular
Vice Pre-
aspect of
Mr.
Obamacare. I
President,
got
What a
rid
mess.
of
I'd like
it.
you
And we
to,
will protect
Mr.
people
President,
with
I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer.
Go ahead.
You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to
Hey, fuck you,
replace
Akio.
Obamacare, and just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. Question, sir, what is the Trump health care plan?
Oh no, the audio's cutting
Let me
out.
just tell you something, that there's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against Big Pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting health care. All the things that we've done, insulin. I give you an example, insulin. It was destroying families, destroying people. The cost, I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water, you want to know the truth. So cheap. Take a look at all
like
of
water.
the drugs, what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because they pay just a tiny fraction.
As I say, this is open discussion.
No,
Let me
but
ask
this
you
is
about,
big,
let me,
this
you'll
is
be happy,
big stuff.
Sir, you'll be happy. I'm about to pick up on one of your points to ask the Vice President, which is he points out that you would like to add a public option to Obamacare. The Republicans make is that is going to end private insurance. And well,
I'm sorry.
ask you.
What your party says, by the way.
It will end private insurance and create a government takeover of health care.
It does not. It's only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free.
I'm going to switch feeds real quick. I'm going to see if this is a better feed.
They qualify for
There we go.
Medicaid.
Yeah, this looks better.
They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would, Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the public option. The vast majority of the American people would still not be in that option. Number one.
Joe, you agreed with Bernie Sanders, who's far
did.
left, on the manifesto, we call it, and that gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
This is
I'm not
just
gonna
a
let
shit
you
show
The fact of
already.
the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. I'm here standing facing you, old buddy.
Pocahontas would have left 2 days
I tell
early.
you,
You would have lost every primary.
All he knows. Here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to
With
make
what?
sure because
With what?
here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agree.
want to
Hey,
make
Joe,
sure.
you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be surprised.
you pick
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy,
Go.
the wrong
Go.
night
Go.
at the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Oh my
him
gosh,
speak.
dude,
There
this
is
sucks.
no manifesto, number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number two.
Grief says we are fucked. I totally
Number
agree, Grief.
two,
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan
folks,
that's absolutely
folks,
agreed
do you have
to,
any
and under that
idea
plan,
what
you have
this clown's
socialized,
doing?
They call it
Mr.
do you
Medicare.
have any
President.
do?
Socialized medicine.
This is
Mr.
out of
President.
Tell you
control.
what,
This
he
is just
is
a mess.
not for any help for people needing health care. Because
Bernie?
because he in fact already has cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two, there are 20 million people getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't ever look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
No, I want to give
Number
them better
three.
health care at a much lower price
But-
because
and by the way,
Obamacare
he doesn't
is
know
no
how.
good.
He doesn't know how
I've
to do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has never
I've
offered
already
a
fixed
plan.
it to an extent.
He has never
Obamacare,
done a
as
single
you might
thing.
know, but probably don't.
Gentlemen, you realize
is no
if you're
good,
both
Joe.
speaking at the
It's no
same
good,
time,
and it's too expensive.
let the President, go ahead, sir.
Obamacare is no good. We made it better, and I had a choice to make very early on.
It was no
we
good.
took away the individual mandate. We guarantee pre-existing conditions, but took away the individual mandate. Listen, this is the way it is, and that destroyed. That they shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well? Or badly. If I run it badly, they'll probably blame him, but they'll blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people. Okay? I said you got to run it so well.
That's what he's
and I
known
just
for.
Are you guys
had a
watching
meeting
this
with them.
fact
They
check
said
right
the
above my
problem
head?
is no matter how
Check that shit
well
out.
you run Obamacare,
This is
it's
in real
a
time.
disaster. It's too expensive.
I got you.
Premiums
I
are
got
too
it.
high, and
That's
it
what his
doesn't work.
people- that's what
So
his people
we
say.
do want to get rid of it.
Chris,
we want to get rid of it.
I
and
understand
give
it, sir, but
something
I have
that's
to
cheaper and
give
better.
you roughly equal time.
Good.
Please let the Vice President talk.
Good.
He has no plan for health care. Of
course we do.
Please.
He sends out wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a health care plan since he got elected. He has none, like almost everything else he talks about. He does not have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. And the fact is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right,
He's
I have one final question for you,
Sure.
Mr. Vice President. If Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices
Justin, I got
there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now. Make sure you, in fact, let people know you're a senator. I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
would you answer that
because
question?
the question
Left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list?
Wow.
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
Gentlemen, I think
this
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have
I'm not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
Wow.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
They sure
47 years you've done nothing. They understand.
All right.
Holy shit.
The second subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject, so let's try to be serious about it. We have had more than 7 million cases of coronavirus in the United States, and more than 200,000 people have died. Even after we produce a vaccine, experts say that it could be months or even years before we come back to anything approaching normal. My question for both of you is, based on what you have said and done so far and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked. In addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He then did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. I laid out back in March exactly what we should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
So if we would have listened to you.
You have 2 minutes.
Oh, look at that. Biden got fact-checked for once.
The country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000, and one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand. But if you look at what we've done, I closed it, and you said he's xenophobic. He's a racist, and he's xenophobic because you didn't think I should have closed our country. Wait a minute.
It says 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of you Democrat governors said, President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that would not be necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job. We did. We got the gowns. We got the masks. We made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing I haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you good press. They give me bad press because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
Well, you
done.
didn't do very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was no
very-
economic recession.
Sir, you made a
There was-
far
there
less
was no
lethal
recession.
disease,
You made a
by the way.
point. Let him answer.
And there was no one, we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look, you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far
How
more
many
people.
people?
Far
That is-
more people.
And,
You would have been
and by the way,
months late.
your own,
You were
his
months behind me,
his
Joe.
own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up, he said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask. And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, we're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't
we
trust
Dr.
Johnson
Fauci.
& Johnson, Pfizer?
And
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen, let me move on to questions about the future because you both have touched on two of the questions I'm going to ask. Focusing on the future first, President Trump, you have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words.
Yeah.
But Dr. Slaoui, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies, and we can have it a lot
right,
sooner.
Ambrose.
It's a very political thing because people like this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer. I've spoken to all of the people that you have to speak to. We have great Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because the left, or I don't know if I call them
you're
left, I don't know
suggesting
what I
that
call
the
them.
head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr. Slaoui...
I disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both. of them.
Operation
And he
Warp
didn't say that.
Speed.
He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available, just like
He
Dr.
said it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also
I'm
be
talking
after
about when it's
that.
generally available. not when
Well,
it will
we're
be.
going to deliver it right away. We have the military all set up logistically. They're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
This
delivering
is the
the
same
vaccine.
man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the
That
same
was
man.
said sarcastically,
That was
and you
him-
know that.
I
That
don't-
was said sarcastically.
And so here's the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out, if we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. Pray God we will.
Mr. Vice President, I want to pick up, though,
You'll have
on
the
that.
vaccine
I
sooner
want to
than
pick
that.
up on this question, though. You say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying
Everybody
you can't,
knows.
Senator
And
Harris is saying
no,
you can't trust the scientists.
No, you can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust
She said the public health
Did say
experts,
that.
quote, will be muzzled, will be
Yes.
suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to do. But there's millions of scientists, there's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great hospital, that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not. They're the people. And by
I
the way,
spoke to the
and
scientists that are in charge.
By the way,
they will have
and
the vaccine very soon.
Let him finish.
do you believe for a moment what he's telling you in light of all the lies he's told you about the whole issue relating to COVID? He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record as saying it. He panicked or he just looked at the stock market, one of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So-
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing.
Let's have this debate.
And if
We'll
you
see
would have
this.
had, let me just tell you something, Joe.
No,
If you would have had the charge of what I was put through, I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
See, he-
and it's
We're going to
going
get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's going up fast.
Okay.
Look forward to talking.
When it comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than President Trump about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE, as well as...
By the way, guys, that poll, some of you have been asking what the poll on the screen is coming from. You can vote on madcastmedia.com. Right now it says it's 91% to 9% Trump versus Biden. That seems real accurate. I'm sure you guys are just voting once.
Have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with him in the Senate. And he sits in his golf course. And I mean, literally, think about it.
You probably play
think
more than
about
I
it.
do, Joe.
What about this question of reopenings and the fact...
Well, he wants to shut down this country. And I want to keep it open. And we
You
did
ju-
a
he
great
just
thing by
admitted
shutting
he
it
shut
down.
it down.
Wait a minute,
Let
Joe.
him
Let me
finish,
shut
sir.
you down for a second, Joe, just for 1 second. He wants to shut down the country. We just went through it. We had to because we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people with heart problems and diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned a lot. Young children aren't. Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states that have been shut down, they have Democrat governors all. One of the reasons they're shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until after the election on November
I want to
3rd.
move on to another
Because
subject.
it's a
I want to move
political
on to another
thing.
subject.
What do you guys think of that
But
conspiracy?
I wanna
those
move-
states,
gentlemen, I
those
wanna move
states
on to
are
another
not
subject.
doing well that are shut down
Which is
right
gotta
now.
respond to that.
President
Wants to shut down
Trump,
the
you
whole
have
country.
begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
No, I think
the
masks
efficacy
are
of
okay.
of
You have to
masks?
understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test, and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to, but I
Just
wear
like your
masks
rallies.
when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will say
Vice
this.
President Biden, go ahead, sir.
Look, the way
What
to
a shit
open
show.
businesses is give them the wherewithal to be able to open. We provided money. The Congress.
But I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Well, masks make a big difference. His own head of the CDC said if we just wore masks between now, everybody wore masks in social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters.
And they've also said the opposite. They've also said
no serious person said the opposite.
No, that's bullshit. Watch the fact check pop up.
Watch
the fact check.
Dr. Fauci said the
He did not
I
say
want to ask you, we got a little bit over a minute left in this
masks
segment.
are not good. Then he changed his mind. He said masks are good. I'm okay with masks.
I want to
my
ask you
God.
about one last subject, because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding the
There it
large
is.
rallies.
There's the fact check. I called it.
Thousands of people. Outside, yes, sir. Agreed. Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with.
Because nobody will show up.
People with.
Well, it's true. Nobody shows up to his rallies.
All right. In any case, why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You goes first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
I've
not
done a
worried
great
about it
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you
and
not worried
hangars,
about
and we
the
have a
disease
lot of
issue,
people.
sir?
Well, so far we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference, according to the experts. And we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally on 24 hours notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did you see one of the last big rallies he had? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. That's what he said. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing in one another.
We've had no negative
cheek to
effect.
jowl. No negative effect.
We've had no negative effect. And we've had 40,000 people at these rallies.
Just quickly finish up, because I want to move on to our next.
Yes, I would. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled.
Coach Dynamite says Herman Cain is
social
unavailable
distancing,
for comment.
People wearing masks, basically encourage them not to.
All right.
Ben, he's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the
cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy?
Yes.
The economy is, I think it's fair to say, recovering faster than expected from the shutdown.
Much faster.
In the second quarter, the unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean to the American people in terms of the economy? President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of still 204,000 people is too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to.
Does the audio still sound okay? Let me know, guys.
Down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people, between drugs and alcohol and depression, when you start shutting it down, you take a look at what's happening at some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns. And I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that. Oh, we're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce, look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well, setting records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
All right.
So,
your 2 minutes, sir. We're now moved to you.
The argument is if we're shutting down the country.
As I said, posing the question, the president says it's a V-shaped recovery. You say it's a K-shaped.
Right. So Real quick, if we're shutting down the country, like if it's a political thing and it's only going to hurt him for the election, he's also saying he would shut the country down post-election if he became president. So which is it? Because if he's just doing it to hurt the country, wouldn't that hurt the country regardless of who's president?
Because of his profligate proposal, and he only. But you folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? This guy paid a total of $750 in taxes.
Sir, wait, no, sir, it's just yeah, I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him have it.
Do I get my time back? The fact is that he has, in fact, worked on this in a way that he's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools, why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. He ought to get on the job and take care of the needs of the American people so we can open safely.
All right. Your time is up, sir. Well, we are going to get to...
I have to respond to that.
Well, you both had 2 minutes, sir.
Excuse me, he made a statement.
So did you.
People want their schools, people want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost like a ghost town. And I'm not sure it can ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their places open. They want to get back to their lives. They'll be careful, but they want their schools
open. That's right,
Coach. I'm the one that brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. And
all right,
people of Ohio are very proud of me. And you know how I found out? When he took
gentlemen,
the phony
we're going to
ad.
get to your economic plans going forward in a moment. But first, Mr. President, as you well know, there's a new report that in 2016, the year you were elected president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years. I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers. I paid $38 million 1 year. I paid $27 million.
Show us your tax
1 year.
returns.
I went. You'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under-leveraged because the assets are extremely good, and I built
Sir,
a great company.
I'm asking you a specific question, which is...
But let me tell you...
I understand all of that. I understand all of that. No, Mr. President,
Go ahead.
I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars,
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see it. But let me just tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something, that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build a building and we get tax credits, like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired right after that happened. But
Vice President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, The tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher on the money a school teacher makes, is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator. And
You're
by
the
way,
worst
you were
president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just say, Joe, I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of doing, including fixing the broken military that you gave me, including taking care of your vets.
Mr. President, we're talking about the economy. I'd like to ask you about your plans going forward because, Mr. Vice President, your economic plan, if you were to be elected president, focuses a lot on big government, big taxes, big spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just take a look at what is the analysis done by Wall Street firms. Points out that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years, number one. And number two, it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make this federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from ships to steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500, who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it before when you were vice president with Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was your tax proposal.
I got it done. And you know what happened?
Yeah, you got it done.
Our economy boomed like it's never boomed.
The economy is busted.
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower taxes for American people.
But in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming, it turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look, we inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't booming.
He blew it.
It wasn't booming. It was the weakest recovery since 1929.
Is it fair to say he blew it when fact, when there was record low unemployment before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in a hole.
Excuse me, Chris. Wait.
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you're on number two.
No.
Chris. They said it would take a miracle to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing. Part of my standard fare.
I'm the guy that brought back the automobile industry.
All right, let him.
We brought back. I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it.
Hold up. I got to get a beer. I'll be right back. I need a beer for this.
Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies came in from Germany, from Japan, went to Michigan, went to Ohio.
They're not having.
And they didn't come in with you.
Mr. Vice President, go ahead.
And so you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate
Mexico.
your lunch. Down
All right, gentlemen,
18%. China ate your lunch, Joe. And no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also,
Simply
while we're
not
at it,
true.
why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million.
That's
What
not
did he
true.
do to deserve it?
That
What
is-
did he do with Burisma
None
to
of that-
deserve
Wait,
$183,000?
None
You've
of
asked
that
a
is
question,
true.
let him answer.
None of that is true. It's
Oh, really?
been
He didn't
totally
get
But no,
$3.5
hey,
million?
Mr. President,
It's
Mr.
totally-
President, please. You've
totally
asked a question.
discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait, he didn't get
No, no.
$3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
He got
Mr.
$3.5 million.
President,
that is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr.
Oh,
President,
but, Mr.
it's an open discussion, please.
Now,
It's a fact.
Well,
There's- it
you
is
have
not a
raised an
fact.
issue. Let the
been
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay him
report.
$183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr.
Look,
President,
no job.
my son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he did.
and
Mr.
the only guy
President,
that
let
did
him
something-
answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
who?
And
The
Ukraine.
media?
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they refuse to
allies,
talk
by the
about it
World
because they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact,
Mr.
even the people
President,
who
please stop.
testified under oath.
So let me
under
ask you
oath,
this,
under-
Joe.
under
No,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to
Even
you.
the people under,
He got $3.5 million from
testified,
Moscow.
He testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd like to
honorably.
know who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a
Some
good
because
job.
some people don't do
well,
a good
here's
job. With you,
Go
they
ahead.
say-
You get
here's the
wait
deal.
a minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me, this.
Hey,
this
let me just
person.
say, Joe.
No. Mr. President.
$3.5
Mr.
million,
President.
Joe.
That is simply
Why did
not
he
true.
deserve $3.5 million
It
from
did-
Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics. I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's
My
already...
family,
No, let him go.
my family
already
lost
wrote
a
it.
fortune by
Go ahead.
coming down and helping
Go
us
ahead.
with
Go ahead,
government.
sir.
And that's
Every-
such a...
they're right
That's
here.
it, Mr.
That's
President.
such
Every
a great...
single one of them lost
This
a
is not
fortune
about
by
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us
family.
with
It's
government.
about your family,
They
the
didn't
American
collect $3.5
people.
million.
He doesn't... That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about.
you
here.
should
All right,
Not
that's the end of the
Shouldn't have
segment.
taken the money.
We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice
it's a
President,
very- but Chris,
no,
Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
No, I-
He
I-
stood up.
No,
He stood up.
the answer to
and
the
he
question is no.
threatened Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion if you
That
get rid of
is
the Russians.
You know what?
absolutely not
Stop.
You're
true.
on tape doing it.
You're going to
Not
have
true.
Gentlemen,
Is-
I hate to raise
Chris,
my voice,
he's
but I
on
see it seems
tape.
to be, why should I be different than the two of you? So here's the
Got a
deal.
good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want. I'm going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more interrupting
Well, that's
than
all
he
right,
has.
but he does plenty.
Well, less than, sir, less
there's
than,
plenty.
no, less than you have. Let's please continue on. The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say
Busted.
President Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very fine people on both sides, was what directly led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yeah, sure.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for black Americans than any president, with the possible exception.
And we have never walked
the
away
fuck?
from trying to require equity for everyone.
stream go
equality
down?
for the
Oh,
whole
shit.
Of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes, remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches.
Are we live? Can you guys see me? Cool, we're back.
Just spewing anti-Semitic bile and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president has ever said anything like that.
It is who's
now,
who
second point I'd make to you is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year,
what was that number?
1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans.
1 in 500?
This man is the savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So, President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with racism?
He did a crime bill, 1994, where you call them super predators, African Americans, the super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you a super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 1990s, and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that, because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day and they put up their hands and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. I want to return to the question of race. Vice President Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case decided not to charge any of the police with homicide, you said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
Yes.
What do you guys think of this question?
There's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women. They risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples, and when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers, to the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out. So we change the way in which we have more transparency in when these things happen. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it. But we have to have a system where people are held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right.
What is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of the town and burn down your stores and kill people all over the place,
that
and you
is
say
not
peaceful
peaceful.
protest?
President Trump,
No, it's
I'm not
not,
asking-
but you say it is.
President
did not
Trump, I'd
say
like to continue with the
Yes,
issue
go
of
ahead,
race. I
please.
promise we're going to get to the issue of law and order in a moment. This month, your administration directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or critical race theory. Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane, that it was a radical revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody
what
else.
Is radical,
and he would know.
What is
Oh,
radical
it's totally
about
racist.
racial sensitivity training, sir?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and, frankly, very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's the racist.
You just don't know.
Here's the deal. I know a lot more about
You
this
don't
than he
know.
does.
Let him finish.
The fact is that there is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware of what other people feel like, what insults them, what is demeaning to them. It's important to people know they don't want to. Many people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but it makes a big difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many
I like
people.
that idea,
They
Twitch.
look down their
Like a
nose
shock
at
collar
people
for
like
interruptions would be
Irish
great.
Catholics like me and grew up
Seriously,
in
these guys
Scranton.
both
They
need to
look
shut
down
the
on
fuck up
people
when the
who
other
don't
one's
have
talking.
money. They look down on people who are of a different faith. They look down on people who are a different color.
I agree, Lonnie.
In
That would be
fact,
great if you
we're
talked
all
about his leg
Americans.
hair some more.
The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if we do it together. We can take this on and we can defeat racism
Vice
in America.
President Trump, sir.
During the Obama...
Guys, after this, I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat room. We're going to have a debate. I'm going to debate some of you guys because some of you are out of control dumb. So we're going to have a debate after this.
Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more violent than what I'm even seeing now.
Oh, my
but the
Lord.
reason
This
is
is
that
ridiculous.
the Democrats that run these
Absolutely
cities
ridiculous.
don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
and you
crime,
still haven't mentioned.
violent
Are you in
crime.
favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow
Are you in favor of law and order? Go
Yes,
ahead,
I'm
say
in
it.
favor.
You
Everybody's
asked a
in favor
question,
of
let him finish.
Law and
He
order.
loses
Law
left.
and order.
Let him.
Such a
Law
dumb
and order
question.
with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%, 15% in our administration.
All right.
It's gone up on his watch.
Went down much more in ours.
All right, we're
He
now.
is
You're,
president of
Mr.
the
President,
United
you're going
States
to.
of America.
We
Mr.
were
President,
breaking every record in the
Mr.
book.
President, you're going to be very happy because
And
we're
the
now going to
places
talk
we-
about law and order.
Places we had trouble were Democratic-run cities.
That's
George
exactly
Wallace
my
has tried
question.
so
There has
hard.
been a dramatic increase in homicides in America this summer, particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but in fact there have been equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like
True.
Tulsa and Fort Worth. So the question is this really a party issue?
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look at Chicago, what's going on in Chicago, where 53 people were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200%. Crime. It is
cities.
crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because he'll lose his radical left supporters.
Oh, my
and once he
gosh.
does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country, and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would have, our suburbs would be gone. By the way, our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've never seen.
He would know a suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would not. I was
Wait a minute.
raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog whistles on racism don't work anymore. Suburbs are by and large integrated. There's many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though. And in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support?
It means.
Let me, if I might finish the question. What does reimagining policing mean, and do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police officers. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding in his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down. It didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to be engaged.
That's not what they're talking about, Chris. That's not what they're talking about. He's talking about defunding the police.
That is not true.
He doesn't have any law support. He has no law enforcement support.
That's not true.
Almost nothing.
Look.
Oh, really? Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go ahead. Think. We have time.
We don't have time to do anything.
Think
All right.
Name one law enforcement group that came out and supported
I think, gentlemen,
you.
I think I'm going to take back the
There
moderator's
aren't. I don't
role,
think there are any.
and I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities that have turned violent. In Portland, Oregon, especially, we had more than 100 straight days of protests, which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is, as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted. And anyone who commits it
But
should
you've
be
never
prosecuted.
called for the people, the leader, excuse me, sir, you have never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to bring in the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Oh,
really?
Here's the thing.
I sent in the U.S. Marshals to get the killer of the
young
young man in the middle of the street. They shot him, and for 3 days,
President Trump,
Portland wouldn't do anything. I had to send in the U.S. Marshals. They took care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way, his own former spokesperson said, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that. And so here's the, here's the point.
Go ahead.
The point is that's what he keeps trying to rile.
Refresh, Akio. If the stream is blurry, just refresh, guys.
Down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly, every single solitary time.
Okay, and to end this, button up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly criticized.
I have to answer his statement.
No, you have
His
repeatedly.
statement.
You have repeatedly. No, you've been talking back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love to end it.
Sir.
I would love to end it.
If you want to switch seats,
We would very quickly.
We could do that, but
I'd
I'm
send in the National Guard, it would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay.
But they
Good.
don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing
That's right.
extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared
to do that,
specifically
but
do it?
Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything
Thanks,
I
Photon.
see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you
If
saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
You want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what.
What?
Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
His
This
own
is a left-wing.
FBI director
This
said
is a left-wing
threat
problem.
on white
Go ahead, sir.
supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you gotta be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what his
It's an idea.
His
Okay.
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well,
we're
then
gonna-
you know what?
No,
He's
no,
wrong.
we're done, sir. We're
Everybody-
moving on to the next.
everybody
We're
put
moving.
it
Oh, my
back
God.
to your
Over the head, that's not
administration.
an idea.
I hate this. I
Everybody
hate
in
this
your
so much.
administration tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas. that are-
Antifa is a dangerous,
All right,
radical
gentlemen, we're
group.
now moving on to the Trump
And
and
you ought to be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll overthrow you.
When a president, I'm going to ask a question. When the president seeks a second term, it is generally a referendum on his record. But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative. And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records, I'm going to ask
Wow,
each
look at
of
that
you,
fact check on
why
PolitiFact
should
up above.
voters elect you president
I didn't even
over
know
your
that.
opponent? In this segment, President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax. And you saw what happened today with Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all of these things, where I had to fight both flanks.
Hold on,
and
someone sent me a
behind and
Snapchat.
and
Check this
above,
out.
there has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen.
Thank you,
People
Brian.
were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling, and they were saying, it's time maybe, and then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all of the other things. A fixing of the VA, which was a mess under him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. It was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3
This is
Supreme
what
Court
he's saying
judges,
now is just to shore up his
justices.
base.
That is a record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like you just don't do that. They left 128 openings, and if I were a member of his party,
It's not true.
because they have a little different philosophy, I'd say if you left us 128 openings, you can't be a good president, you can't be a good vice president. But I want to thank you because it gives us almost, it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term.
Fine, sir.
300 judges, it's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent. When I was vice president, we inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused the recession. With regard to being weaker, the fact is that I've gone head-to-head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers.
Your son got
And-
$3.5 million.
And by the way,
Mr.
my
President,
son,
wait a minute. Mr. President.
Will Ferris says, "Hey Maddox, the stream's a riot." Oh, sorry, I meant a fiery but mostly peaceful protest. Thanks for the 5, Will.
Agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
he never keeps his word. Can you add
No,
back
no,
He's
I'm
a
not
person
asking.
that's
That was a
not
rhetorical question.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yes, you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So, thirdly, we're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there were 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's president of the United States. It's on his
That
watch.
was already
And with
fact-checked.
regard
The
to
fact-
more divided. The nation
Hold up.
can't
The
stand
fact was, according to PolitiFact, it was 15% lower overall, but I guess homicides have gone up since coronavirus.
losers and being and just being suckers. My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent
Are you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking about
I'm
Hunter?
talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about
I don't know, Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah, you know Bo.
Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He
For
wasn't dishonorably
cocaine use. And he didn't have a job until you became vice president. And once you
None of
became
that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made
son,
a fortune.
my son,
And he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why was
I'm
he
proud of
given
my
tens
son.
of millions
All
of
right.
But he
dollars?
wasn't given
All right.
tens of millions of
He was
dollars.
given
That
tens
is
of
totally.
I mean, is this? Do you guys think this is fair? Do you guys think this line of attack is fair?
We've already been through this. I think the American people would.
It seems
rather
kind of
hear
shitty.
about
Like
their
I wouldn't
substantial
be for this like on
subjects.
either
You
side.
know, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make
I know,
a
but when
judgment call
somebody
here.
gets $3.5 million
Okay,
from
right.
the
Let's
mayor
talk
of
about-
Moscow,
let's talk
That is
about-
not
think
true.
it's a terrible
That
thing.
report is totally
Why did he get
discredited.
it?
I
Mitt
think,
Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers'
Gen-
money, that report. It was written for political reasons.
you know, I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay. The forest fires in the West are raging now. They have burned millions of acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President, you said, I don't think the science knows. Over your 4 years, you have pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accord. You have rolled back a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate change, and what will you do in the next 4 years to confront it?
I want crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder, and leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns down. You've got to have forest management.
What do you
You've got to have
believe?
cuts.
What do you believe about the science of climate change, sir?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good. You know, we're planting 1 billion trees, the Billion Tree Project, and it's very
Do you
exciting
believe
for a lot of people.
that human pollution, greenhouse gas emissions contributes to the global warming of
I
this
think
planet?
a lot of things do, but I think to an extent, yes. I think to an extent, yes. But I also think we have to do better management of our forests. Every year, I get the call, California's burning. California's burning. If that was cleaned, if you had forest management, good forest management, you wouldn't be getting
Thanks,
those
arrogant
calls.
media.
You know, in Europe, they have forest
Littered to
cities.
fight
They call
ecofascism.
forest cities. They maintain their forests. They manage their forests. I was with the head of a major country. It's a forest city. He said, sir, we have trees that are far more, they ignite much easier than California. There shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, you know, at some point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground. That's burning down because of a lack of management.
But, sir, if you believe in the science of climate change, why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are going to create more pollution from cars and trucks?
Well, not really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car, and you're talking about a tiny difference. And then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by $3,500.
In the case of California, they've simply ignored.
No, but you would take a lot of cars
rollback
off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me, many people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have computers all over the place for an extra little bit of gasoline. And I'm okay with electric cars, too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars.
Look at that fact check from PolitiFact up above.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to respond to the president's climate change record, but I also want to ask you about a concern. You proposed $2 trillion in green jobs. You talk about new limits, not abolishing, but new limits on fracking, ending the use of fossil fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact, during our administration, the Recovery Act, I was in charge, able to bring down the cost of renewable energy to cheaper than or as cheap as coal and gas and oil. Nobody's going to build another coal-fired plant in America. No one's going to build another oil-fired plant in America. They're going to move to renewable energy, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that we are able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put.
Akio, who's Moxie? Are you saying I'm Moxie? You're saying, does Moxie know how to start a fire? Do I know how to start a fire? Yeah, in your mom's pants. We're going to debate after this, dude.
To take 4 million buildings and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out. There's so many things that we can do now to create thousands and thousands of jobs. We can get to net zero in terms of energy production by 2035. Not only not costing people jobs, creating millions of good-paying jobs, not $15 an hour.
Oh, I'm a moron, am I?
Prevailing wage.
Good
by having
one,
a new
idiot.
infrastructure that, in fact, is green. And the first thing I will do, I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out of it, look what's happening. It's all falling apart. And talk about someone who has no relationship with foreign policy. Brazil, the rainforests of Brazil are being torn down, are being ripped down. More carbon is absorbed in that rainforest than every bit of carbon that's emitted in the United States. Instead of doing something about that, I would be gathering up and making sure we had the countries of the world coming up with $20 billion and say, here's $20 billion. Stop tearing down the forest. And if you don't, then you're going to have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument that President Trump basically says that you have to balance environmental interests and economic interests, and he's drawn his line?
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, makes sure that he wants to make sure that methane
is not muted. Thank you, Lonnie.
You can now emit more methane without it being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles that exist now. This is the guy who says that, well, the fact that
you got it, bud.
It's all true. And here's the deal.
Talking about the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's $100 trillion.
I'm talking about
where they want to rip down buildings and rebuild the building.
No,
it's the dumbest, most ridiculous. Where airplanes are out of business, where two-car systems are out, where they
Not
want to
true.
take out the cows too.
Not
That's
true.
not true either, right?
Not
this
true.
is a 100
Simply,
trillion.
look,
that's more money than our
that is-
country could make in
that is
100
simply
years if we're
not
going.
the case.
All right, let me,
It will destroy
because I actually, wait a
How
minute,
about that?
sir. I actually have studied your plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy-efficient homes. So the question becomes, the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good-paying jobs.
But let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that. The fact is, it's going to create
Biden looks
millions
exasperated.
of paying jobs. And these
Oh,
tax
Richard, thanks,
incentives
man.
for people to weatherize. If she wants
Maybe
to
when
get
I start making
get
hot
rid
sauce
of it,
again.
it's going to make
Yeah, I
the
used to sell hot
economy
sauce
much
all the
safer.
time.
Look
It's
how
been a
much
while,
we're paying
though.
now to deal with the hurricanes. By the way, he has an answer for hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them. They may.
I never said that.
That's
at all.
he did say.
You made it up.
And here's the deal.
You make up a-
we are going to be in a position where we can create hard, good jobs by making sure the environment is
Creating those
clean
hard, good
and
jobs.
we all are in better shape. We spend billions of dollars on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happened just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and
Smokey, it's
counties
the spicy
in
one.
Iowa. That didn't happen before. They're because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's problem.
Look at
We,
these
in
PolitiFacts.
fact,
Look at this real-time
the rest
PolitiFact
of what we've got to
fact-checking.
get them to come along. That's why we have to
So
get
the
back
$100 trillion claim
back into
for the cost of the
the
Green New Deal is
Paris
false.
Accord.
All right, gentlemen,
Wait a minute, Chris. So why didn't he do it for 47 years? You were vice president. Why didn't you get the world? China sends up real dirt into the air. Russia does. India does. They all do. We're supposed to be good. And by the way, he made a couple of statements. The Green New Deal is $100 trillion.
That is
not
not
20
my
billion.
plan.
That's
Not.
Green
well,
New
you want to
Deal
rebuild every
is not
building.
Look at that, about
my
$100
plan.
trillion Green New
If he
Deal.
knew anything
Wait a
about-
minute, wait.
if he knew
Gentlemen,
He
anything
made a
about-
statement
Gentlemen.
about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
What
not
he
true.
did
Sir,
is he
you're done in
said
this segment.
he called
Mr.
the
Vice-
military
Mr. Vice President,
stupid bastards.
I
And he
did
said
not
it
say
on
that.
tape. He said stupid bastards.
Please,
He
sir,
said it.
stop.
I would never
I
say
would
that.
Play
to the
Stop.
military.
Play it.
Go ahead.
You're
Mr.
on
Vice
tape.
President answered his final question.
The final question is, I can't remember which of all his rantings.
I'm having a little trouble myself, but and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
That's a good idea,
The
Lonnie.
I mean, the
economy-
Green New Deal and the idea of what your
The
environmental
Green New
changes
Deal-
will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward. We're not going to build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
So do you
We're going to
support
build.
the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
You support
No, I don't support the Green
Oh,
New Deal.
you don't? Oh, well, that's a
You
big
let-
statement.
I
That
support
means you
the
just
Biden-
lost the radical left.
I
Done.
support
Oh, you
the
don't?
Biden plan that I put forward. The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen, final segment, election integrity. As we meet tonight, millions of Americans are receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early. How confident should we be that this will be a fair election, and what are you prepared to do over the next 5+ weeks, because it'll not only be to Election Day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after Election Day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner of this election?
Oh
in this
boy, here
final
we go.
segment?
Here we
Mr.
go.
Vice President,
Brace
you
for
go
it.
first.
Prepared to let people vote. They should go to iwillvote.com, decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security Director, and as well as the FBI Director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating. They said that. The
Wow,
fact
look at the
is
polling
that
on
there are gonna be millions of
madcastmedia.com,
people
guys. The
because of
numbers
COVID
have
that are
kind
gonna
of
be
shifted.
Voting by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way.
Go to Madcast
He sits
Media.
behind
Don't forget to vote on
the
this.
desk and sends his ballot to Florida. Number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and the polls stay open until the votes are counted. And this is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be
No
legitimate.
soapy shoe.
Show up and
PolitiFact
vote.
corrected
you
Biden
will
several times.
determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're
No,
able to
that's
vote
not true,
early
Stowe.
in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because he cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of whether or not, when the votes are counted, and they're all counted, that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that'll be accepted. But by the way, if in fact he says he's not sure what he's going to accept, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter, because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote. Just make sure you understand you have it in your control to determine what this country is going to look like the next 4 years. Is it going to change, or you get 4 more years of these lies?
Mr. President, 2 minutes.
So when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people, there was no transition, because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won, and even before I won, from the day I came down the escalator with our First Lady. They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that, because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. A solicited ballot.
What a fucking mess.
Okay, solicited is okay. You're soliciting, you're asking, they send it back, you send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd, you're watching and you see who
what if
won
he
the
wins?
election.
Like, if
And I think
is
we're
it a
gonna
fraud
do
if he
well,
wins?
Because people are really happy with the job we've done. But you know what? We won't know. We might not know for months, because these ballots are going to be all over. Take a look at what happened in Manhattan. Take a look at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say you have to have your ballot in by November 10th? November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major states with
time,
that.
sir.
All run by
2 minutes
Democrats.
is 2 minutes.
All run by
You're-
Democrats. It's
President
a fraud.
Trump,
It's a rigged election.
you're going to be able to continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud. But in 2018, in the last midterm election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so. Because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them, we don't like them, we don't like them.
But what are you going to do about it? There are millions of ballots going out right now.
What you do is you go and vote. You do a solicited ballot, and that's okay, or you go and vote.
I'm asking you about the fact that millions of people...
You go and vote. You go and vote,
but
like
what I'm
they
saying is, what are you
like they
gonna do
used
about
to
the
in
fact
the
that
old.
millions of people...
You either do, Chris, a solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it back, and you're sending. They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia. Mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. They're being dumped in rivers. This is a horrible thing for our country. This is not going to end well.
There is no evidence
this is
of that.
not going to end well.
5 states have had mail-in
sir.
ballots for the last decade or more. 5, including 2 Republican states. And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you. It's sent to your home. What they're saying is that it has to be a postmark by election day. If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting the votes because he knows
You're
the
wrong.
outcome.
You're wrong.
I want to continue with you on this, Vice President Biden.
Chris, he's so wrong when he makes a statement like that.
Excuse me. Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity, or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court, with a Justice Barrett, will settle any dispute?
Thank you, CW. Updates coming. Got a lot more updates on the way.
When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you, that is totally legitimate.
All right.
Excuse me, Chris, when you have 80 million ballots
I have a final
sent in
question.
and swamping the system,
you
know it can't be done. You know it can't.
Thank you, Nuke the Eyes Cap.
So now,
Mail service delivers
wait a minute, gentlemen. The
185
final
million
question
mail a
is:
day.
in 8 states, we can keep talking. In 8 states, election workers are prohibited, currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and flatten them until Election Day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks,
could be months,
until we find out who the new president is. So first for you, sir, finally for the Vice President, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest, and will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you go first.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They were called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia.
Because it's electioneering, dipshit.
And I am urging...
That's called electioneering. You can't do that.
People, I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair election, I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you what, from a common sense,
does that mean you're going to tell your people to take to the street?
It means you have a fraudulent election. You're sending out 80 million ballots. They're not equipped to... These people aren't equipped to handle it, number one. Number two, they cheat. They cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the name military ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President
you think
Biden,
that's good?
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. They count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day.
Oh, man.
And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots, that somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been
Wow,
established.
it's 50-50 in the poll on who's winning the debate, guys.
I asked you had an opportunity.
Vote on madcastmedia.com.
They have no idea what
Vice President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me,
that's not very compelling.
Fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome. And I'll be a president not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans. And this guy,
I want to see an honest ballot count.
Gentlemen, you say that's the end of it? This is the end of this debate?
Honest ballot count.
We're going to leave it there. To be continued as in more debates as we go on. President Trump, Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting hour and a half. I want
Yeah.
to thank you both for participating in the first of 3 debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. The 2 vice presidential nominees, Vice
University of
President
Utah,
Mike
why?
Pence and Senator Kamala Harris,
That's weird.
will debate at 9 p.m. Eastern that night. We hope you watch. Until then, thank you and good night.
Wow, what a shit show. Man, fuck that noise. I am so glad that's over. What an absolute mess. What did you guys think? Okay, first of all, let's look at the polls. We're going to take a look at madcastmedia.com, the polls that I have on there. We have, right now, the debate says it's 50-50 Trump-Biden on who won the debate. Honestly, I think it was kind of a shit show both ways. They both interrupted each other a lot. I think it was a pretty terrible debate. I don't think this is going to move the needle in either direction for anyone, to be honest. Mr. J. O'Kane says that sucked. I agree, Mr. J. O'Kane. I think it was a shit show of a debate. It was stressful to listen to. I don't think anyone really did a good job. Least of all, like, George Wallace tried. Honestly, I thought George Wallace did an okay job as a moderator. Like, he tried. What, did someone yell? Did you guys just hear that? Yeah, I agree. Oh, by the way, so we got the Nuke the Ice Caps donated $20. Says, dude, you look like a statistic waiting to happen. Get a couple of beers and a pizza, my dude. Cheer up, Buttercup. These idiots are only temporary. Yeah, what a mess, man. What a mess of a debate. I don't think that's going to move the needle in either direction. Let's see here. Chris Wallace is a DC shill, says VODs. So 518 says people cheering for Trump. Yeah, they're not supposed to. They're not supposed to be cheering or doing anything like that during these debates. Let me pop over to Time and see if they have any of these.
He does not have a plan. He doesn't have a plan.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to have the debates like playing on mute while I talk about this for a second. Let me know how the audio sounds. If it gets fuzzy for any reasons, just hit refresh on it. I'm going to debate a few of you morons in the chat room. I promised you that during the debate. So anything you guys want to say, anything, just go ahead and spit it out. I'm curious what you guys think. So the debate, looks like the debate, based on Madcast Media on the poll that you guys voted, it's 50-50 Trump-Biden, which seems about right. I don't think it moved the needle. And then who you guys think will win the election? Most of you said Trump. 63 to 37, you think Trump will win the election. Vod says droopy debate. Agreed. Cameron says debate sucked. I agree. Cameron says Biden is still shitty. Raphael says, oops, I missed the comment. Luis says, how lame. They didn't talk enough about Biden's son. Why not the whole debate about Biden's son? Why, Luis? What's the fucking point about Biden's son, idiot? Lonnie says they sucked equally. Yeah, they're both pretty bad in this one, I think. Ashton says, I'm voting for Maddox after all this. I agree. I think I'd make a good vote. Sparkio says, everyone shut the fuck up after he chooses a moron to debate. Vod says, to be fair, Don Jr. did the same shit as Hunter. Liberals would be all over it. I mean, they basically have. It has been this the entire time. Like both Hunter and Don Jr. are benefits of nepotism. I think it's rich that anyone criticizes Biden for nepotism when it's the same shit. Both of them are doing it. Like, they're putting their children in the office. I mean, look at fucking Trump. You got Ivanka, you've got Kushner, you've got Eric Trump, you've got all these people in his immediate family working in the administration, directly benefiting, getting taxpayer funds off of this shit. Like, come on, you want to just point fingers to one side? Let's be fair here. They're both kind of doing it right now. Matthew says the Trumps are already in the government via nepotism. It's insane. Lonnie says totally who gives a shit about the other kids too. Yeah, I think one low point of this debate was when Trump pointed out Biden's son's drug addiction. Biden copped to it. He says, yeah, my son had a substance abuse problem. I think that's kind of a shitty thing to do. When your children become adults and they make their own choices, to point to the parent and being like, well, that's your responsibility, it's kind of shitty. Like, everybody has in their family, well, not everybody, but like a lot of people have in their families someone who has suffered from substance abuse, someone who's had you know, some kind of problem, some kind of substance abuse, something like that. And it's not. I don't think it's fair to kind of hold that against the other person. Let's see. Let me pull up some of these comments here for a second. Where are all these? I was trying to debate like some of you idiots in the chat room. Okay, Twitch said when he said who was Bo, that was fucked. Yeah, that was really fucked. I thought when he said who was Bo was Joe Biden's late son who passed away, I think from cancer or something like that. It's really tragic. It really affected Biden too. He was off the radar for at least a year, I think. Deadbeat Gamer says, "Oh, we know you love a fake tan." What are you talking about? Okay, where's the smart guy I was going to debate? There was someone in here I was going to debate. Thank you, Rebecca. Ashton says they all left. Oh, did they? Oh, that's too bad. Where was all these tough guys who I was going to debate? By the way, how's the audio sound? I got some like light music playing in the background. By the way, that PolitiFact was pretty awesome. That live fact-checking was pretty awesome during this debate. It says here, we have more to get to. You knew that. Be sure to follow along for more coverage at politifact.com. That was interesting. It says, Trump has repeated the Obama spied on his campaign, but multiple independent investigations include a series of bipartisan Senate reports found no political influence over the FBI investigation of Russia interference in the 2016 election. Okay, so here's what we need to talk about for a second here, which is this allegation of election fraud. It is such a counterproductive claim to make because on one side, if you claim that there is going to be election fraud, no matter who wins, it casts into doubt the election results. So if Trump wins, he's been claiming election fraud all along. So if Trump wins, guess what? Everyone's going to say, okay, that's election fraud. You didn't actually win, right? Because you've been saying all along it's election fraud. And if he loses, that's election fraud too. So it's a lose-lose situation. Claiming allegations of election fraud without evidence is nonsense. It's counterproductive. Okay, Akio, there we go. Okay, Akio, here's who I wanted to debate. Akio, you've been talking shit this whole time, Akio. Let's. Okay, Akio keeps spamming the same thing. He says Project Veritas. Okay, Akio, you act like that's gonna be like some slam dunk thing. Okay, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at Project Veritas because these guys, this is run by, what's that guy's name? James O'Keefe. Yeah, James O'Keefe. So this is run by James O'Keefe, and this guy, here, I'm going to pull up the Wikipedia page for Project Veritas, and we're going to go over this live on screen just to show you, like, you think this is going to be some fucking slam dunk. It's not. I'm just going to show you exactly what's going on here with Project Veritas. We're going to take a look at their Wikipedia page, and I know Wikipedia is not like the end-all be-all in sources, so we'll go ahead and verify some of these claims on Wikipedia. Okay, let's pull up Project Veritas right here, and let's just read about it. For those of you who don't know, Project Veritas is kind of like some far right. It's a right wing kind of expose style website, right? And it's very controversial because the guy James O'Keefe has been caught several times in the past of committing fraud. So here's the James O'Keefe Wikipedia page. And by the way, if you are doubtful of any of this information, we can verify it. I can double check anything you want me to. You know, we can make sure that these are all legitimate sources. Oh, Akio says, "Oh, you're a fool." Okay, Akio. Let's read the source of yours, Akio. Let's see what you're saying here. Wow, Maddox is getting owned by a chat rando. Okay, Dr. Y. Yeah, how am I getting owned? Because he called me a dork. He says, late dork. Just listen to all the sources. Akio, you're a dumbass. You assume this is going to be some fucking slam dunk. Like, I haven't heard of Project Veritas first. Make up your own mind. No shit, Akio. That's what everyone does. Everyone makes up their own mind, but you're cherry picking your sources. You're finding someone who says the worst about your opponent, and then you're automatically believing them because they affirm your biases. This is confirmation bias, dipshit. All right, let's go ahead and read this. It says, James Edward O'Keefe III, born 1984, is an American conservative political activist and provocateur. He produces secretly recorded undercover audio and video encounters in academic, governmental, and social service organizations purporting to show abusive, illegal behavior by employees and or representatives of those organizations, okay? So he just a few days ago had a big expose that came out that said that supposedly there are there's proof of ballot fraud, right? Some guy was allegedly going to an old folks' home and buying these ballots. I want to show you guys this video because this is pretty eye-opening. Let's see if I can find it. Akio, if you have the link, go ahead and post it in the chat room because I know you do. I know you have it fucking bookmarked. So post this link to this video. Let me see. James O'Keefe ballot harvesting video. Let me see if I can find this video to show you guys. Okay, well, here's a news article about it. Let's read this news article real quick. Here's a news article according to, let me see, can you guys see that on the screen? Yeah, okay, good. It says, Hennepin County attorney says no reports of ballot harvesting prior to allegations from Project Veritas, evaluating validity. Okay, let me find this video, though, because I do want to show you guys this specific video about Project Veritas. These are all, let's see, let's click on the videos here and see what we can find. Okay. Here it is. Here's one of these videos. There's like a short video that shows exactly, like, you know, one of these alleged, like, ballot purchases or whatever. Maybe this is it. Let's see if this is it. This is on Newsweek. Oh, this is just stock music, whatever. Okay. So, what Project Veritas is claiming about Ilhan Omar and illegal ballot harvesting. Let's see. Is this the video? No, it's not the video. Let's see. Where's that video? I want to see that video. Do you guys have a link? Soapy Shoe says, "No shit. The MSM is in on the election fraud. You have Trump derangement syndrome." Okay. Oh no, I got Trump derangement syndrome. Oh no. Oh no, you guys really got me. I got Trump derangement syndrome. The mainstream media is in on the election fraud because, you know, this only benefits one party, right? Okay, here we go. I think this is the video. I think this is the James O'Keefe video. Let's watch this. I'm going to watch this video in full, show you I'm not afraid of it. We'll watch this fucking video. Here we go.
Hello everyone, James O'Keefe at Project Veritas. We have some breaking news in response to our ballot harvesting investigation of the hundreds of ballots being collected and paid for. Hennepin County, Minnesota Attorney Jeff Wojcicki told a Project Veritas journalist on a recorded line that ballot harvesting conduct is, quote, illegal and we will be investigating, unquote. That is the first investigation being conducted by a county attorney in Minnesota. And remember this guy, King Liban, the guy in the car with the hundreds of ballots. This is one of the first times you've ever seen. He has just responded on Twitter. This is King Liban 1 saying, quote, y'all making me more famous. I'm screaming, hashtag Black Lives Matter. They are heedless. Now this is the guy, King Liban the first, and I'm going to play you this part of the video here.
Okay. This is the video I want to show you guys, okay? This is the fucking smoking gun, allegedly, right? Where he's showing somebody purchasing some ballots. Now, I'm going to show you guys this video without commentary first, all right? But I really want you guys to pay attention for it, and I want to see if you guys... This is only like a 2-minute long clip. This is like 1 minute. I want you guys to watch this for 1 minute. Here we go. Watch this video for 1 minute, and I want to see what you guys think in the chat room. If you've already seen this video, if you already agree with it, I don't want to hear from you. I just want to hear from people who've never seen this video before. I want to see how compelling and how convincing this is to you. Go ahead. Here we go.
Money is everything. Money is the key in this world. If you ain't got money, you should not be here, period.
King Liban talking about the importance of money in the ballot harvesting process. These ballots were obtained from the elders in the communities. They were obtained by payment. We have many sources on tape saying that. This itself is a crime. The video has over 75,000 tweets now on Twitter. It is not trending on Twitter. Things that are trending on Twitter with 4,500 tweets, Heat in 7, Brad Stevens, fees, all these weird things trending. But you know what? It's not trending. Ballot harvesting. Even though this video almost has 1 million views. But it's Sunday night at 11:30, and we at Project Veritas are just getting started. Tweet this video out. It is one of the first ever showing how the voter fraud happens, and the only way people are going to see it is if you tweet it out, hashtag ballot harvesting.
All right, that didn't show the actual clip. I want to show this actual clip of him that he shows the ballot harvesting video. Okay, so just in that short video alone, he's already lied at least once.
By payment. We have obtained from the elders in the communities. They were obtained by payment.
Okay, so right there, let's take a look at that claim right there. He says that these ballots were obtained from this elder community by payment. All right, so they're right there. He's claiming that people went to this old folks home or whatever and bought these ballots, right? And I wish I had the video to show you, but he says they're verified by a number of sources. But I've watched this video, and the sources are all anonymous. They're just people who talk with Middle Eastern accents, and they're like, oh, yeah, we bought these ballots. And then they say, okay, well, who put you up to this? And they're like, Ilhan Omar. And he's like, okay, aha, Ilhan Omar. We knew she was a bad guy. And so Alan says audio just boosted. Is the audio bad? Let me know if the audio adjusts weird. Akio says it's funny if you're a criminal. Okay, Akio, calm down, buddy. Okay, so Lonnie says if it's not trending. Oh, by the way, okay, so that's the second lie, Lonnie. So he does say that in this video that it isn't trending, right? Hashtag ballot harvesting isn't trending. That's a lie, because I clicked on the hashtag that was trending in the top 10. In fact, I think it got to in the top 5. That's how I saw the ballot harvesting hashtag trending. So that's a lie. It did trend, and it did get to the top of Twitter trending. So let's go ahead and see if we can find this James O'Keefe video. I really want to show you guys this video of the ballot harvesting video. Yeah, I think it's this one right here. Okay, it says, undercover video raises questions about absentee ballot handling in the Somali community. Let's see here. Oh, geez. Let's see. I don't think this is... Well, here's a video. It says, Stanford researchers say Ilhan Omar video appears to be coordinated disinformation campaign. Oh, my God. Can we just get out of this? I don't think I can click on any of these links. Okay, let's go to another source. This is garbage. Let's try to go to another... So, well, here's the 16-minute video. Maybe I'll just skip around to the part where I was talking about. We'll watch the full... Maybe this one right here. National Review. I think this is a conservative website. You can tell this is a conservative website because look at the stock photo they used of Ilhan Omar. Okay, it says... Yeah, okay, this is it. Oh, my God. Okay, let's see if this is it. Yeah, this is the video. Can you guys see that? Let me get to the part where he actually, there's some money that's exchanged hands with a ballot they have. Let me show you this. Okay, so this is one of the sources they have in this video, right? Look at this.
People who work with Ilhan Omar and other candidates.
Okay, so that's the evidence they have. They asked an anonymous source with a pixelated face, and of course they have the camera looking like it's hidden or obstructed. But what's the point? If you're going to anonymize the guy, why can't you just get the guy on camera? If it's an anonymous source, what difference does it make? Why is this guy sitting down and talking to him at a Starbucks, assuming they're at a Starbucks or a park or something? They have the Aquafina water, which hasn't been drank. You can tell it's not even cracked. So they just sat down to have this conversation. So he sat down and immediately just started spilling his guts. But he's not willing to do it on camera. For what reason? Why is this guy a whistleblower? Why is he coming forward? Isn't he doing the right thing? Is that presumably why he's doing the right thing? How to Pet Cats tutorial says, I'm having trouble following your rantings. Okay, I'm getting to the point. Hold your horses. Okay, Akio says, what post has been removed? Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Matt Larson says, Loch Ness Monster is more validated than this shit. Gotta love simple-minded. Thank you, Giester. Let's see, Jorge Antonio says, when you work on this type of shit, you don't say names. The video is fake. Space Lawyer says he's scared Ilhan Omar will send SJW secret police to assassinate them. All right, let's keep reading this, though. I do want to see this video. Let's keep looking at this, all right?
For them.
I want to show you guys the part in the video where they exchange money exchanges hands.
Okay. knock on the door and say, your ballots come, give it to me, give it to me.
They don't even pay them for it. They just take it.
No. And the ones that didn't vote on ballots, the young people and the women and stuff, they were to do this busy.
And her and Americans
I'm not fully intent.
which is the epicenter of where these alleged voter fraud activities. Minnesota $50.
Yeah.
Admit it.
Not great to be at home. Oh, I also think.
How?
Yeah.
Or that question is, what does Congressman Ilhan Omar have Central Minnesota have to say about it? To do?
No, this doesn't have it. There's a specific clip I want to show you guys where money exchanges hands. And the point of it is, it takes about 3 minutes. Oh, this is from 2016. But look, here it is in 2016 too. Sting video purports to show Democrats describing how to commit voter fraud. This is the same shit from Project Veritas. Again, from Project Veritas. This guy. He's been caught several times committing fraud. Yeah, here it is. In January 2010, O'Keefe began a column on Breitbart's website, biggovernment.com. Breitbart stated in an interview that he paid O'Keefe's salary for his life rights to gain a release of O'Keefe's videos first on his website. 2010, O'Keefe informed his news organization, Project Veritas, whose stated mission is to investigate and expose fraud. Okay, here, let me see. He did get busted a little while back. Yeah, it's in here somewhere. Yeah, for the Washington Post. In July 2017, Veritas operative Jamie Phillips attempted to infiltrate the Washington Post and other media outlets by joining networking groups related to journalism and left-leaning politics. She and a male companion attended events related to the Post, and their conversations with journalists were sometimes covertly recorded. The Washington Post reported that several women accused Republican Alabama U.S. Senator candidate Roy Moore of pursuing them while they were teenagers, and he was in his 30s. Later that same month, Jamie Phillips approached the Washington Post and falsely claimed that Moore had impregnated her as a teenager and that she had an abortion. So this, now I remember now, this is the scandal. So this, supposedly, they were trying to plant a fake story with the Washington Post to discredit their story against Roy Moore. Roy Moore, if you guys recall, he was the Alabama judge candidate or something like that, or a Senate candidate who had some credible allegations of courting like a 13-year-old girl or something. Or yeah, here it is. He supposedly sexually assaulted a girl who's ages 14, 16, and 28. Moore acknowledged that he may have approached and dated teenagers while he was in his 30s, but denied that any of the girls were underage or that he sexually assaulted anyone. So they were trying to discredit the story in the Washington Post. They got busted. They lied to try to get a fake story planted with the Washington Post. They got busted. So this is Project Veritas. This is the organization that you're resting your laurels on. Lonnie says, if I'm going to go, just leave, don't announce my part. Yeah, who cares? Let's see. Two-Wheel Union says, what exactly did he do wrong? You mean other than the fraud I just read about? What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean, what did he do wrong? Let's see here. Let's see. That's James O'Keefe. That's Project Veritas. Oh yeah, here, I'm trying to find James O'Keefe personally. Yeah, here we go. Attempt to solicit voter fraud in 2014. In October 2014, O'Keefe and his two colleagues attempted to bait staffers for Congressman Jared Polis and then U.S. Senator Mark Udall, as well as an independent expenditure or organization, into approving voter fraud, according to several staffers who interacted with James O'Keefe and his colleagues. Staffers began photographing O'Keefe's crew and advising them that what they were doing was illegal. One nonprofit said that they contacted the police. So this is basically entrapment. If a law enforcement agency tried to do this, that would be considered entrapment. You can't do that. You can't. He's trying to bait these people into doing something illegal so that he can catch them on camera and then turn them in and like make one of his like undercover videos. So a lot of this stuff gets busted and failed. So here's the failed Washington Post attempt where they tried to plant a fake story about Roy Moore allegedly raping somebody and impregnating her, which is a really fucked up thing to do. If you're trying to implant a story like that, if you're trying to plant a fake story about a rape and a pregnancy, not only is it unethical, but it casts into doubt people who've actually had sexual assault and rapes happen to them. It's a really shitty thing to do. Nelscavian for $2 says, obviously fraud is a lesser crime than liberalism. All right. Okay, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on the presidential debate. What do you guys think? The voting has shifted. Let's see, what does the voting say? It looks like 56-44 Biden, Trump, and you guys still think Trump is going to win, 62-38. Yeah, I think it's looking like Trump's probably going to take this thing. Lister RS says, "Are you going to respond to me, or are you too pussy?" What did you say, Lister? What's your hot shit comment? What's your slam dunk comment? I don't even see what you said, Lister. Repeat it so I can see it. Chaodite says, "Hey Maddox, just wanted to let you know I followed you since 2006. You've fallen pretty far. Unsubscribed. Good. Fuck yourself. I don't care. Adios. Don't care." Corey Cooper says the debate was a shit show because of Trump's insistent interruptions. I think they both interrupted a lot. Lister says, "Oh, not you, Maddox. I'm mad at Accio." Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm still waiting for some slam dunk argument from Accio. Accio says Lister is a woman. Okay, cool. Matt Cox says, "I think the debate was bad. Trump yelled at Biden. Biden at least talked to the people." All right. Big Man says, Trump performed better, but the debate was pretty stupid and of no substance. I would agree with that. I mean, not with the performance. I think they both did pretty poorly. I mean, there was just too much interruptions, like too many people talking at once. It was hard to follow. I didn't get a cohesive answer on anything. I didn't feel like I was enlightened in any way. Brandon Weber says, "Talk about pedophile allegations against Trump. Actually, please make an article about it so I can link to dipshits." Brandon, there's so many articles already written about that stuff. It's in the New York Times. It's in Washington Post. I think Washington Examiner has done pieces on them. What's the other one? Not the National Standard. I don't know. A number of different websites, like credible journalistic outlets, have actually written about that already, if you want to know. And until there has been an actual conviction, there isn't much of a story. It's just an allegation, right? Like you can make the allegation all you want. Biden has also had allegations against him, which people just have dismissed, I guess. But until there is an actual conviction, there's not much there. Brandon Weber says, "I meant against Biden." Oh, yeah, Brandon. Yeah, there have been allegations against Biden too. I'll use the same standard. Until there is a conviction, I don't know what else to say. Biden's allegation, I think, happened like 27 years ago. I do find that there is like a bit of a double standard with people who support Biden versus Trump. Like they're very, very willing to believe women until Biden's been accused, but then everyone kind of like says, "Oh, well, that one wasn't credible." Seedbuddy says, "Trump was gung-ho with the interruptions, but Wallace, the decrepit omelet with glasses, was keen on shutting him down every time he was about to make a point in favor of Biden." CW, do you think that Wallace was biased in favor of Biden? I don't think. I thought Wallace was pretty even on this one. I think he did a pretty good job moderating. I generally like Wallace's reporting. I think he does a pretty good job of trying to be even. Feifel Kipner says, "Do you think Biden's son Beau was one of the underage children in Epstein's plane? That's why Biden didn't?" No, what the fuck are you talking about, idiot? No, it's dumb as hell. Dr. Y says, "Please let us vote on Accio in the debate." What's there to vote on? Accio says Biden is a creep. Accio, who are you voting for? Can't quite tell. Brandon says, "All the pictures taken of Biden are taken out of context, and a sad attempt. Was hoping Maddox would speak to it because it's all I hear people talking about." What are you talking about? What pictures of Biden? What are you talking about? Litany Against Fear says, "Give Trump a break. Those bone spurs were getting to him." Let's see. Bodus Vista says, "Every time I see Biden, I can't get that Oingo Boingo song out of my head." Okay. CW says it wasn't completely one-sided. It was definitely pretty noticeable. In favor of who, CW? Towards Biden, towards Trump, who? Akio says, you mean between a giant douche and a turd sandwich? Akio, it seems like you're biased towards Trump. If I had to guess, you're probably going to vote for Trump. How many people in the chat room are leaning Trump, leaning Biden, or neither? I'm just curious. Red Eye says you should stream more often. I think I will, Red Eyes. I'm going to try to stream twice a week, I think, on this channel. I'll probably do some more of the news at some point. Milsamba23, thank you for the 5. It's very cool, you dog. Let's see. What did Milsamba? Thank you for the 5, Milsamba23. Leaning neither, says Milsamba. Thank you, Peter the Strange, for following. Feifel Kipner says, what do you think about reformatting the police by making teachers assist them on social workers during the summer vacations? I don't know what you mean. I don't even know where to begin answering that. Like, I don't know what you're actually asking. CW says, I honestly would have preferred if Wallace cleared the room and let the two geriatrics duke it out for an hour unmoderated. I'd pay-per-view that shit. I disagree, CW. I think that would have been even more of a shit show. Rockstar says, how can you vote for someone who's been in office 47 years and blame someone who's been in office... Blame someone officer who's been in office for 4 years. Biden is a dumbass. Okay, Rockstar. I mean, I don't understand. Like, Obama didn't have any. He was in office much less than Biden was. Would you hold him to the same standard? Same with any political candidate. Like Reagan. I think Reagan wasn't in the Senate or Congress before he ran for president, was he? Alex says, Maddox asking all the hard questions like reading chat. Well, Daxian Preston says, I'd rather vote for another Democrat, but I must vote Biden. Yeah, we're here again. Here's where I think that the Democrats are fucking up again. Is because they're running Biden as the non-Trump candidate, right? They're like, at least he's not Trump. Now, I don't know if many of you remember the Bush versus Kerry election, but we're seeing a replay of that. Basically, but because Bush versus Kerry, I saw all the exact same arguments happen. Every time somebody said, "Oh, I don't like Kerry. He's not we don't have enthusiasm behind him," and they didn't. People didn't have enthusiasm behind Kerry. Bush was wildly unpopular because he had invaded Iraq in 2003. The Iraq War began. That was after 9/11, and people were upset. The weapons of mass destruction weren't found. He had Cheney as his vice president. People really didn't like these guys. Cheney is one of the most unlikable people I've seen in politics. The guy just looks like, I don't know, just somebody miserable. Like, you don't want to be around him. And Cheney, during the vice presidential debates between John Edwards and Dick Cheney, the most unlikable candidate I've seen in years, slaughtered Edwards. And Edwards was the favored candidate. And so the Democrats ran Kerry as like the anti-Bush candidate, right? They said, at least he's not Bush. And I remember somebody even created a website, and I'm waiting for it for Biden here, but somebody created a website at the time that said, John Kerry's a douchebag, and he's an idiot, and he's boring, and he's made out of wood, but I'm still going to vote for him because at least he's not Bush. Well, let's look at history. How did that turn out for the Democrats, right? They ran a candidate opposed to Bush because they said at least he's not Bush. They lost. And they're doing the exact same thing with Biden right now. Biden isn't the strongest candidate the Democrats had. I think the strongest candidate they probably would have had was Bernie. And I was never a Bernie bro. But I'll tell you what, man. I don't like Bernie's like more socialistic leanings. But had he been the candidate, I think I probably would have voted for Bernie because I like that he's a principled man. And I think the way to smooth out his socialist rough edges is if the Democrats were smart, they could have just said, okay, we're going to run Bernie and we're going to do something unconventional because he's so far left and he's so like socialist leaning. What we're going to do is we're going to have Bernie run with a Republican vice president. That would have been the winning ticket. right? Bernie with a Republican vice president? I think that would have been a slam dunk. Or at least the Democrats could have like come out and said, okay, we're going to appeal to the moderate Americans by saying, okay, we're going to say, let's maybe back off of Congress. Let there be like a Republican Congress and a liberal Senate and president with a vice president who's Republican. I think that would have been fantastic. But instead we have this shit show. Because you just look at the amount of enthusiasm between the candidates. Obama had it. Obama had a shit ton of enthusiasm. You guys remember that? Like Obama had that fucking the Hope logo created by Farley, Shepard Farley or Ferry? It's Farley, right? Shepard Ferry. Yeah, thank you. Shepard Ferry. He created that iconic Obama logo. It was everywhere. It was on hats. It was on T-shirts. They had Obama necklaces. Pepsi rebranded their corporate logo to look like the Obama campaign logo. That's how popular Obama was. Trump has that iconic red hat. Like it or hate it, it's everywhere. At a glance, from a distance, you see that red hat and you're like, okay, you already have an opinion about the person wearing it. It's a strong statement. It's a strong political statement. What's Biden's logo? The no malarkey bus? Here comes the no malarkey bus. Oh man. I think he's gonna get. I think this is gonna be a slaughter against Biden. I mean, I don't know. Anyone who's been following me on Twitter knows I'm not a Trump guy. I can't stand the dude, but I think that Biden is in trouble. I don't think this election's looking too hot. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if the Democrats playing this like losing playbook is gonna win this time. I doubt it, because they're playing the exact same Bush-Kerry playbook and it lost them last time. It's probably gonna lose them again. But just looking at the way things are going right now, I mean, Trump has a lot of haters. Like, I've never seen so much vitriol against the president, but I've also never seen the country as divided as this, ever. Like, I thought it was divided during the Bush-Kerry election because people really, like, the Iraq war was very unpopular. And a lot of conservatives at the time, it was very unpopular with them as well. And that's when you got this, like, very big conservative surge of support our troops, and you had a lot of people who came out and said, okay, support our troops, and that became synonymous with vote for Bush. Well, that that may have played into why Bush won the election, but Kerry was just not. He didn't have it. He didn't have that quality. Kerry is forgettable. If you had to ask people to draw Kerry from memory or describe him, they'd say, who? What are you talking about? Kerry just wasn't that guy. I've never seen a liberal candidate since Obama, other than Bernie Sanders, who's had that quality. Maybe Yang. Yang had a lot of heat behind him. Yang at least had like some new ideas he was bringing to the table. And it's funny how a number of politicians, both left and right, have floated ideas that Yang has pushed, which is universal basic income, which is an interesting proposition because nobody's really like saying. They're not using the dreaded S word when it comes to universal basic income. Everybody uses the word socialist, right, as like this big spear they like to gouge the other opponents with. Brandon Weber says, Maddox, I feel like you're counting Biden's lack of charisma against him. It may be decided by popularity, but it's not a popularity contest. It's an interview for running for the country, not into the ground. Well, I know that, Brandon, but you have to be realistic here. I mean, Hillary Clinton's lack, like, she didn't have that quality. She didn't have, I don't know, when they polled potential voters about Hillary Clinton, consistently, even liberals who supported her said that she lacked a certain amount of warmth. And that was something that she personally worked on. I thought she did a better job, especially during the debates in 2016. She did a better job. She did all right. Like, I thought she like held her own during the debates. She even had a few zingers in there. But in her effort to appear likable and relatable, she did that dumb shit thing that all politicians have done, like fucking Trump with the Goya beans, and Biden with Despacito, and Hillary Clinton with Pokemon Go to the polls. Remember that shit? Oh man, it was so fucking cringy. Here, let me pull this up. The Pokemon Go to the polls thing. It was so bad. Let's see. Pokemon Go to the polls. I think, yeah, this is it. Here, check this out.
So what we want is for more young people to be supported and mentored in getting those skills at community colleges, at apprenticeships run by labor unions and businesses. Because we're going to have a lot of jobs from building infrastructure to coding, creating new apps. I don't know who created Pokemon Go.
Oh, no.
But I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
Oh my gosh. It's so cringy. It's like the cringiest thing. It's so bad. It like hurts to hear that. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. And then there was Hillary Clinton. You guys remember that? Hillary Clinton? I don't know if you guys saw this. Yeah, here it is. Check this clip out.
I'm just chilling in Cedar Rapids.
I hate it so much. Someone made a remix of it too. I don't even know what this is. It's QWERTY Cousin's video. I don't know. Maybe this is a bust.
Just chilling.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. We get it. So, and then you had like the Trump Goya Beans thing. You had the Biden Despacito thing. Man, it's so fucking cringe. Every politician does that shit. But yeah, man, it matters. Like likability does matter. Is Biden likable? Honestly, I used to love Biden. I used to think Biden, well, like when he was the running mate of Obama, he just served as comic relief. Anytime he said anything, it was like the wrong thing to say. He was a gaffe machine. They call him the gaffe machine inside the Democratic Party because he says a lot of bad, like that weird leg hair comment he made about kids who get in the pool with him and like stroke his leg hairs. I hate it so much. I don't know, man. I think no matter who you vote for, it's gonna be we're looking at a shit show of an election. I was texting with a friend the other day, and she goes, "How you doing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, pretty good." Except I was just Googling Sweden citizenship, so not, that's how my life is going right now. I think a lot of people just want to get the fuck out of Dodge, and this isn't even one of those things like, oh, if Trump wins, I'm leaving the country. I'm just done with this mess. Everything seems messed. Like I think that COVID was mismanaged in this country. I think the two governments that managed it the worst is China and America. Both our countries are doing almost the exact same thing. China suppressed information. The WHO came out and said that it wasn't contagious when it first came out. Remember that? Remember that fucking tweet? Let me see if I can find it. I had a tweet. I found this tweet from the WHO where they were saying, "Hey guys, don't worry, it's not that contagious." Let's see if I can find this. Yeah, let's see. I was searching for this tweet that I tweeted out, but I don't know if I can find this. Yeah, I don't think so. It was from the WHO, but they basically said that it's not as contagious. Well, let me try one more. If you guys have the link, post it in the chat room. Yeah, I don't know. I can't find it. But the WHO originally came out and they said that it wasn't that contagious. I think both countries did a really bad job of managing it. Akio says China's always correct. What are you trolling? Oh, you found it? Okay. Let me see if I can find that. Is that what's that link? WHO status? Is that the WHO Twitter? Let me see if I can find that. Is that the WHO Twitter account? Is that how it is? Is that what you're linking to? Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, cool. I found it. Thank you for the link, Strange Online Man. Here's what I want to show you guys. Check this out. This is the actual tweet from the WHO, tweeted January 14th, 2020. Look at this. All right, look at this fucking tweet. It says, preliminary investigations concluded by the Chinese authorities have found no clear evidence of a human-to-human transmission of the novel coronavirus identified in Wuhan, China. Wow. How did that one age? Oh, man. What a shit show. Look at this. Beanie says, Chinese girls, though. Beanie, you're so horny. Akio says, ask the Democrats and those who vote for them. What are you talking about, Akio? I'll tell you what. I think that anyone who's hyper-partisan is an idiot. I think anyone hyper-partisan is just biased. That's a really funny tweet, though. Cloudy Brain says WHO never took down that tweet. Well, what do you expect, Cloudy Brain? Like, if they take it down, then they're going to get accused of censorship. They're going to get accused of changing the news and fake news and blah, 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 all that same shit. So they probably left it up in an air, like, to show that they were trying to be transparent. Oh, by the way, that tweet, look, I have a comment on there, too. Look, I forgot I commented on this tweet. Check this out. Here's the, look at this comment at top, right at the bottom of the tweet. There it is. There's my comment right there. Great. This is great news. Awesome. That was great news. All right. Anyway. So yeah, man. I don't know what to say. I think that if anyone's hyper-partisan's an idiot. Time Lord says, "Are you seriously considering Trump at this stage of election?" Hell no. Let me make it clear. I don't think. Just because I think both sides are bad and idiots, doesn't mean I'm ever going to vote for Trump. I think Trump is out of his fucking mind. I think he's a chronic liar. He cannot stop lying. I think he's just a dishonest person. And I don't care if he's had any policies that work. Like, I'm not so hyper-partisan that I can't admit things that I like that Trump has done. There's at least 3 things he's done that I think he's 3 things he's done well. But he's still an absolutely awful, dishonest, corrupt, unethical president. I think he's one of the worst we've ever had. And that's with me still thinking that Biden's also kind of a dumbass as well. But they're not equally, right? Just because I think Biden's a dumbass doesn't mean I think both sides are equally bad. What about both sides? They're both bad. I don't think that at all. I think they're both like weak candidates, but I'm absolutely never going to vote for Trump. Robert Emanuel says the entire country is hyper-partisan. Yeah, it's looking that way, Robert. I think there's the people in the middle, like people like me who've become politically homeless. And there's actually a handful of people. I'd recommend you guys give them a follow on Twitter. If you guys are curious, if you guys want to see some people who are not hyper-partisan on Twitter, you can follow me. I'm one of them. And then Bridget Fatese. Bridget Fatese's great. She's generally speaking, if you follow somebody who's not hyper-partisan on Twitter, you're going to have the following experience. You're going to get pissed off because eventually they're going to say something that you don't fully agree with. Because if you're partisan, they're generally not going to be 100% on your side, no matter what side that is. So I'm one of those people. Bridget Fatese is one of those people. And what's her name? Julie Borowski. Julie Borowski's great. She's long time identified herself as a libertarian. And since then, I think she's kind of become more moderate, more centrist in her views. I think Joe Rogan is one of those. Say what you will about him, but I think Joe Rogan is not hyper-partisan. He's probably right of center, but he's not like hyper-partisan. I think Joe Rogan's all right. And there's a handful of them, and we're going to become increasingly politically homeless. Let's see. General Wart says, "What are the 3 things?" Oh, the 3 things that I like about Trump. So the 3 things I like that he did, the 3 policies that I like, is he passed a law that said, so we have all this like regulation in this country about trying medicine that is unregulated, right? So medicine that hasn't been vetted through the Food and Drug Administration. He deregulated some of that so that if somebody is on their deathbed, I think it's called the Right to Try Act, so that you can try experimental medication if you're sick. I think that's a good thing. I think if you're sick, if you're on your deathbed, you have nothing else to lose, you're about to die anyway, fuck it, try some experimental drug. Let's get that. I think that's a great thing. Let's get some clinical trials going on humans. Skip the red tape and get right to the bottom. Because if these people are going to die anyway, what do they have to lose? Try these experimental drugs. What are they going to, like, die faster? Maybe. You just sign a waiver and say, okay, fuck it. I know what could happen. I'm going to die anyway. Just take this experimental drug. Trump did that. I like that. Second thing he did is he sat at the table with North Korea. I think that was a good thing. Obama wanted to do that, and the conservatives criticized him for it. But Trump eventually did. I think that was a good thing. And the third thing that I like is he did suggest, I'm not sure if it's like gone through yet, but he did suggest the matching drug prices with other countries, with like, for example, Canada and Mexico. I guess pharmaceutical companies in the U.S. have to match those prices because they're selling them in the same countries, right? Or we should be able to buy those same drugs. I forget the exact law, but it was something along those lines. I'm not even sure it's fully passed. Those are the three things I like. Just about everything else I hate. I think most of his policies have been ass backwards and bad for this country. But those three things, I think he's done good. Ms. Vero says yes to the experimental drug so long as it's voluntary. Yeah, of course. I mean, it needs to be voluntary. Nathan Locke says try bleach, sign a waiver. All right, well, I mean, some people already have. Daxian Preston says, I'm happy about getting rid of the individual mandate. It was costing me €750 a year on my tax return, on top of not being able to afford health care. What is that? What is the individual mandate? Big Man says, people like Joe Rogan are the only people I agree with these days. CW says, Maddox a shill for Big Pharma, confirmed. Okay. Some bloke says, why do you all keep adding him? He can't see the stream. What? Typhoran says, that started under Obama Dodgin. What? Obama? Why are you guys typing so bad? DCN Strict says he's also a mediocre golf player. I mean, that's a strike against him for sure. Arrogant Media says that's irrelevant to the presidential discussion. Wait, what did I miss? I'm missing some context here. Well, I don't know. It's gone. It's gone off the screen forever. Anyway, guys, I'm going to be doing these streams probably a couple times a week, these Maddox News streams. I'm trying to balance when I do these streams and what type of stories I cover. I don't want to cover like this heavy stuff too often because it's just kind of a fucking downer, to be honest. Maybe I'll have some debates. Maybe I'll get some people on here and have some actual debates. I think that'd be pretty fun. That's right, Arch, littering kicks ass, yeah. Some bloke says, oh, I already read that. Okay. Typhoran 1 says, Trump is one of the first presidents in the last 20 years that hasn't started a war or new conflict. Typhoran, I don't think he gets credit for that. Because he tried. That's not for lack of effort. He assassinated a general on foreign soil. You guys forget the Iranian president, or the Iranian general he assassinated in Iraq? That could have led to war. The only reason we're not at war is because we didn't continue firing back once Iran retaliated. And Iran did retaliate, and Trump lied about it. He said there's no troops that were injured. I think 120 troops got permanent brain damage. Look it up. This is insane. When Iran fired missiles back at our bunkers in Iraq, I think about 120 troops got permanent brain damage. They got concussions and they got serious brain damage from that shit. Like, the media doesn't really talk about that. It was kind of like brushed under and no one really like remembers it or talks about it, but that's not nothing. Those are like the most significant war casualties we've had in probably decades. Right? I don't know. I'm probably forgetting something. Maybe there's some like friendly fire incidents or IEDs or something like that, but it's like that is an act of war when you assassinate a general in another country. Iran did declare war on us. We're not at friendly terms with Iran. So, yeah, technically we don't have troops on the ground there, but we still have troops in Iraq and Afghanistan, even though he said we were supposed to bring the troops back home. People says, missed the debate. Did I miss anything important? No. You did not. Liz Lemon says, but maybe now Trump's dad will finally be proud of him. Doubt it. Caliber Kitty says, Maddox, between Tulsi Gabbard, Bernie Sanders, and Andrew Yang, who do you like better out of those three? Definitely Bernie, followed by Andrew Yang. I don't get the infatuation to Tulsi. I just didn't pay attention to her enough, to be honest. She was always polling pretty low. Honestly, my candidate, my pick, before any of this happened, my candidate that I was actually rooting for during the DNC, what's it called? The primaries, was Beto O'Rourke. I was a fan of Beto because he understands technology. He comes from technology. I think it's high time we have a candidate in DC who understands technology. I think that that would have been huge if we had a candidate who understood like what a router was, or an IP address, or how to use email. I think that would be amazing to have a candidate in DC that understands technology, updates our laws, updates things so that they make sense with our current technology. I think that'd be really important. CW says, quick thoughts on Joe Jorgensen? I don't know anything about Joe Jorgensen. Liz Lemon says, so does Yang. What? I missed some context there. Johnny B said, Trump stopped a massive airstrike against Iran at the last minute for not being proportionate. I think he deserves credit for that. I mean, Johnny, I don't think he deserves credit for anything. This guy's been talking shit about, like, nuking hurricanes. What are you talking? This guy's a fucking idiot. I think his generals probably deserve credit. His generals are probably the ones like backing him down from using. I mean, he's been wanting to send federal troops into Oregon and all these different states. Like, what? How are you going to crack down on protesters? With guns? Shoot them? Kill them? These are Trump's ideas. I don't think he deserves any credit for that. I think it's the generals who are like talking him off the cliff. And several generals have come out, spoken critically of Trump's policies. I don't think he deserves credit for that. Sick Panzer says, holy shit, it's Maddox. Damn right. Matt Cox says we should nuke the hurricanes. I mean, look, who am I if I'm not, I'm a little bit hypocritical here. If I was president, nuking a hurricane's pretty fucking cool. Yeah, why not? I mean, I'd nuke a lot of things. Why the hell not? That'd be kind of cool. Nuke a hurricane, nuke a fucking mountain. I have a theory. This is too long to get into. It's basically on how to get an extra hour every day on Earth. I know how to do this. I actually did the calculations. I did the math when I was in college in a physics class one day. I figured out how to give Earth 1 extra hour every day. I think that would revolutionize it. No one would ever go along with it because people are afraid of throwing things off, chickens, cycles, all sorts of shit. But I know how to give Earth 1 extra hour every day. I know how to do this. No, Horrid, I'm not going to elaborate now. It's too much to get into, and it's too goofy right now. Pipordo says Maddox would not vote for Maddox. Wrong. Nathan Locke says Maddox, Alphabet of Manliness is gospel. It should replace the Constitution. Well, glad you like it. You should check out the new book, Fuck Whales. Hell yeah, that's a plug. Sardonyx H says Tim Heidecker, congrats to the Proud Boys on their presidential endorsement tonight. Oh yeah, what did Trump say about the Proud Boys tonight? Did you guys? I was kind of like paying attention to the comments. I kind of missed it. Arch180 says, serious question. If Trump recognizes the Armenian genocide, will you change your mind on him? No. And I think he already has. I think already, the Senate hasn't the Senate already passed a resolution recognizing the Armenian genocide? I mean, good on him if he does, but that doesn't undo all the other shit. The guy's a liar. The guy's a fucking liar. I don't trust anything he says. I think that he's self-serving. I think he's interested in himself first. I just don't trust him. And I think that anything good he does probably has a self-interested motivation behind it. Even though I can acknowledge a few good things he has done. Twitch13 says he commanded them to suck each other off. Okay. All right, guys. This is, again, the goofy part of the debate. Arrogant Media says, I got called a Proud Boy last year. I'm not one, but I am. Am I supposed to stand down? I don't know, Arrogant Media. Apparently he ordered everyone to suck each other off, so there's that. Delacroix Boy says Trump is going to win because he's a narcissist, and narcissism is the new evolutionary advantage. No, I think Trump is likely going to win just because Biden doesn't have enthusiasm behind him, man. People voting for Biden are voting for Biden because they don't like Trump. That's the fact. I hope Trump loses, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Trump's going to win. Liz Lemon says, you can't just claim to know how to manipulate time and not elaborate. What are you up to, kid from Napoleon Dynamite? Liz Lemon, look, it's not as outlandish. Like, it's based in science. It's based in reality. It's based in fact. It's something we could do to add an extra hour to the day. We can easily add an hour to Earth's... Well, not easily. It would take a lot of energy, but we would be able to add an hour. Think about it. Think about how to add an hour to the day, and you might like guess on your own like what my plan is. All right, you guys want to hear this plan? Everyone's asking me about this. You guys want to hear this plan? You guys want to hear? You guys want to know how to add an extra hour to the day? Let me see if I can find an example of what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, here. Here's how you add an extra hour to the day, all right? So I'm going to show you guys this little video on momentum. It's angular momentum. Let's see which video is better. This is the physics behind figure skating. I haven't watched this video before, but this will basically give you the principle on how to add an hour to Earth every single day. Okay, watch how this guy's spinning, and then look what happens. Okay, whoops, it's a chick. Okay, watch how this woman is skating. Okay, watch her speed when her leg is out. Watch her speed when her leg is out. Notice how it's slower, and then when she pulls her leg in, notice how angular momentum increases, and then she's really tight right here, and then she throws her leg out, she slows down again. Angular momentum is already generated before spinning and skating on a curve. Okay, got it. So when her leg is out, pay attention, she slows down. How can a figure skater go from skating on a curve to going so slowly? It says it's the angular momentum. Okay, then when she goes down like that, there's the formula for angular momentum. Okay, so you can just apply the same principle to the Earth. So imagine if you have Earth. Here, I'll draw it for you guys. I can't believe I'm showing you guys this. Imagine if you guys have Earth. Let me see if I can pull up MS Paint here for you guys. Yeah, there it is. Okay. We got Banana Dogs on the screen. Oh man, this is so goofy. Okay, here we go. Whatever. So we got Banana Dogs on the screen. This has nothing to do with anything. Let me get this out of here. Let me get a picture of Earth on here, and let me show you guys basically what I'm talking about. Okay, so here is Earth, right? Okay, and what we're going to do is imagine if, just like that figure skater who is spinning her arms outward, right? Imagine that figure skater who is spinning her arms outward. What if we were able to, on two parts of the Earth, 2 or 3 parts of the Earth, build these giant platforms that extended out, not even that far. They don't even have to go that far into space or anything, but they're basically weights that we extend out into space. Right? So it's the same principle of the figure skater who sticks her legs out and slows down her rotational speed. We wouldn't have to do it by much. You just extend some weights a little bit outside of Earth's atmosphere, not even outside the atmosphere, just in its atmosphere. You throw some weights out, and what's that going to do to Earth's rotation? It's going to slow it down. And you do it just enough to add 1 hour every day to our rotation. Well, there you go. There's my fucking plan. Looks like I blew everyone's minds. Ms. Vera says, Maddox playing with the Earth is like his favorite toy. Arch180 says, dude. Brody sounds high as fuck. Well, also, how much weight, genius? Well, Time Lord, you'd have to calculate it. You'd have to calculate the angular momentum of the Earth. Okay, L equals RMV. Is that formula? So you can calculate this out. You just figure out the angular momentum of Earth. Here, in fact, it's probably a calculation that someone's already done. Let me go ahead and look this up. Here, fuckface, you think I'm lying? Look at this. Angular momentum of Earth. Here you go, fuckface. Okay, here. Angular momentum of Earth is... Oh my god, can you just... All right, let's see here. Where is it? Here we go. To calculate the total angular momentum of Earth with respect to... Can you guys see this? Is it on screen? Yeah, okay. With respect to the axis passing through the sun, we use the Earth's mass at 6 times 10 to the 24th kilograms. It means a radius of, and its mean radius of 6.4 times 10 to the 6 meters, and its mean distance from the sun as 1.5 times 10 to the 11th meters. There are 2 contributions to the Earth's angular momentum. Okay, so people have calculated this. This is not Here, we'll actually figure it out right here, fuckface. There you go. So we're using this L equals mr, or excuse me, it's I equals, what is it? What's the formula? Angular momentum. Here it is. Okay, so here's the angular momentum of Earth. There you go. So if you then, I don't know, you'd have to look up like how much the angular momentum changes when you extend some weights on it. But these are all calculations that have been done. You can figure this out. You can slow down Earth if you want. CW says, Maddox, are you not an astrophysicist too? Use Wolfram Alpha, says CW. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. You cannot mess with the natural order. See, that's what I'm afraid of. Like, I can propose this idea. Here's what I would do as president. I would add an extra hour to Earth. How about that? A fucking candidate who's actually doing something. Like, no one else is as brilliant as me. You guys, I always tell you guys I'm a genius. You guys think I'm being hyperbolic. I'm not. I am a genius. Figured this shit out in college. Smoogly says, the Earth also translates, not just spin. Well, so what, Smoogly? If we're controlling the platforms, we can account for all that shit. Liz Lemon says, makes more sense than the Mexico wall. Damn right it does. Piprod says 10 to the 33rd power of kilogram sounds like a lot. Okay, well, you know, it's not. I'm saying it's like going to cost a lot of energy. You got to lift those things out on platforms, and I don't know how much weight, to be honest. I haven't done that full calculation, but there is a way to do this. Strange Online Man says we must stop this man with his dangerous intellect. All right, guys, that's it. I gotta go take a piss. This has been fun. I'll do more of these streams soon. I'm going to do the other debates as well. If you guys enjoyed this, give me a follow right now. Subscribe. I think I have like subscriptions enabled for my channel as well. Thank you for all the super chats. Those have been great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the moderators who've been in here. Mr. J. O'Kane says, fun idea. Thank you. Smoogly says, sounds like a Simpsons movie. It sounds like a brilliant idea, to be honest. I've offered you guys fucking brilliance on this stream right now. How to add an extra hour to Earth. Are you fucking kidding me? No one else is doing that tonight. I guarantee there's no one else on stream anywhere on the internet doing something like this. Oh, Arrogant Media, thank you for the big smooch. I'll pass that along to Maddox. Nathan Locke says, do you narrate your audiobook on Amazon? I sure as hell do, Nathan. Give it a check it out. Let me know what you think. 980 Productions says, thank you. I look forward to the next debate. When is the next debate? Do you guys know? Can anyone look that up for me? Drew Penn says, bring back the best debate. I wish, Drew Penn. That was so much fun. Ashton says, been subbed for 5 years. Thank you, Ashton. You're welcome, Twitch. Nathan Locke says, the F. Wales one. Yes. The F. Wales book is narrated by yours truly. Miss Vera says, Maddox, that was such a tease. Next stream, more mind-blowing science stuff, please. Well, you got it. I got more ideas. I got a lot more ideas. Spigley says, but it's vice president. Oh, it's the vice president debate? Who's that? Harris and... Who's Trump's? Oh, Pence. Oh, my God. That's going to be so boring. I think Harris is going to wipe the floor with Pence. I think Harris is pretty smart and witty. But also, she's not a good debater. I've seen her, like, get gummed up with, like, some very simple things that people have thrown at her. CW says, I'm waiting the next mission update for a full analysis about how to install dense metal platforms on the Earth's crust in order to extend the standard human day by 1 hour. CW... It's like I think it's more straightforward than you think. You just extend some platforms of weights, or you level the mountains. Actually, I don't think the mountains is enough. You'd have to really create some really dense platforms that extend into the Earth. All right, guys, that's about it. Nick Morgan says, great plan, Maddox. You're welcome. Nick Morgan. Daxian says, King Maddox for president. You're welcome. CW says, I'm waiting the next X mission update for a full analysis about how to install dense metal platforms. Oh, yeah, I just read that. Why aren't you a science YouTuber? I got too much shit to do. All right. Anyway, guys, that's it for the stream. Tune in next time. And until next time, as always, more than anything, I really want to say